welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. Well, today on the show, we're going to talk a little about pre-emerge herbicide choices for soybeans, especially our 3 pre-recommended program.
You know, those pre's in soybeans are important to help with broadleaf control. In wheat, we're really interested in getting excellent grass control. We'll talk about achieving that on your farm today.
Well, we've got a difficult to control weed of the week coming up later in the show, and an iron talk too. But first, here's today's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about road safety.
Spring is finally here and we're seeing lots of trucks and tractors out on the road, so it's important to recognize this is a different time of year. There are vehicles out on the roads that normally aren't out there for much of the year, so you've got to be aware of them and know how to deal with them when you come upon them.
Here's the most important thing that I wanted to mention today. Look, it doesn't last long, this planting season, or the same thing with harvest season in the fall. And a lot of the farmers that you're going to be following on the road, they aren't going far. Many are going 1, 2, maybe 5 miles. So yes, I realize you're probably going to have to slow down, but in the grand scheme of things, it might take an extra 1, 2, or 3 minutes of your time. It's no big deal. But the problem is if you pass somebody when you shouldn't pass them, now we're putting everyone in jeopardy, and that's obviously not a good thing.
Well, a few things to look out for. First of all, extra width vehicles. So you see a big planter or a big tractor moving down the road. Farmers have every bit of the same rights that you have to be out on that road. So many times you may think, wow, why don't they get over on the shoulder? Well, the challenge on the shoulder is, well, there's multiple challenges. First of all, the pavement's not as thick there, so they can tear things up if they're out on that shoulder at times. The other thing is there's mailboxes and other things that you have to avoid that are really close. And if they're big and wide and kind of hanging out over the ditch, well, they may have to swing back out in the road to avoid those things. So it's better if the farm tractors can stay on the road. You just have to be aware. If they are wide, you're probably not going to be able to see around them, so much like Brian said, you'll have to slow down.
Yeah, but the big thing, Darren, is legally they're required to be on the road, not on the shoulder. The shoulder is not a driving lane, not for a farm vehicle or anything else. So that's why equipment does have to run right down the road. That's just the way it is. The other thing I guess I'd point out is if you see a slow-moving vehicle sign, one of those triangular signs in the back, what you're actually supposed to do legally is slow down to the speed of that slow-moving vehicle. So if it's going 15 miles an hour, you are legally required before you pass to slow down to 15 miles an hour, then proceed around that vehicle. A lot of people don't realize that. That is the law.
The other thing to watch for is unusual vehicles out there, like seed tenders, for example, or trucks that have an auger sticking out the back. You just have to be prepared when they're going to turn. That auger, of course, is going to be out on the road for a little while longer than the vehicle is, so watch out for them. Plus, those types of vehicles are probably going to be turning into a field approach many times, not necessarily onto the next road that you see. So just watch that there may be a field approach coming up a little closer than the next intersection, and they may be turning sooner than you otherwise would normally expect to see.
And once again, with planting season upon us, please be careful, be safe, slow down, take a little extra time when you're anywhere near farm equipment.
Fortunately, one thing you don't have to watch out for on the roads is our weed of the week. Farmers will be after it in their fields. We'll show you how to control it coming up later in the show.
We started utilizing the dual react system this year. You can adjust your speed and it automatically adjusts your sprayer tips. So you can slow down and you aren't building up huge droplets, or you can speed up and you're not throwing a mist that's drifting.
Hypro, helping you spray better.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Let's face it, Joe. Some of these guys aren't easy to play. Biologicals are expensive. Humates and plant growth regulators are messy.
Yeah, but AgroLiquid has 4 new players that have really eliminated those problems. The Primer Grow line has helped their team realize the benefits.
Wait, so season-long nutrition and optimized yields while creating a biologically active soil?
That's right. Primer Grow line is a fantastic addition to AgroLiquid's stellar team.
Leading the charge in strip tillage for more than a decade, the Soil Warrior brings the future to your farm today.
Smart farming is playing hockey with my son.
All right, sweetie, you excited to go?
Yeah. Smart farming is going on more family vacations.
Smart farming is getting some much needed rest.
Smart farming is spending more time doing what you love. Make it happen with Farm Command.
If you raise soybeans, you will probably want to use the 3 pre-herbicide program. All right, so we have 2 main points we wanted to leave you with today. Why do I need 3 pre's? And number 2, do I even really need a pre-herbicide at all?
Well, first of all, if we go out with a single mode of action product versus multiple modes of action, the university research has shown us having at least 2 effective modes of action in the tank decreases our chance of building weed resistance by 83 times. That's why I want to use multiple products. Now, why would we use 3 instead of 2? The reason we want 3 is we want to do the best job we can controlling these weeds before they're out of the ground, and we want to extend your soil residual control to control weeds later into the season.
The other reason we want 3 pre's out there is just to get 2 effective modes of action. Well, if you've got 3 modes of action out there, even if one happens to not work anymore, you still have 2 left. So we look at the main Roundup resistant weeds that are out there, weeds like kochia, for example, palmer pigweed, water hemp, ragweed, and we say, hey, what are the best products we can possibly use pre-emerge that are still inexpensive, that have really good residual? Well, what we're left with is the yellows, that'd be trifluralin, sonaline, or prowl, metribuzin, and one of the PPOs, either Valor or Authority.
Now, why these 3 modes of action? Again, we can't use them post-emerge. So as we're using them pre, you may be thinking, can I actually mix all 3 together and use them? You think about trifluralin as that product that has to be instantly incorporated. It's got some volatility to it in that it can evaporate and you could lose some of it. So we do like tillage for trifluralin. If you say, well, I'm in a no-till situation, then we would choose Pro. With the PPOs, they can be used either incorporated in the soil or they can be laid on the soil surface in a no-till situation. Metribuzin would be the same way, could be used in conventional till, or it could be used in no-till. Now, if you say, I'm going to lightly incorporate, how do I do this to make all 3 of those modes of action work? Well, keep it relatively shallow. With Treflan, it does move around in the soil a little bit. You could go a little bit deeper with that one, but we find better results when we can keep the PPOs and the metribuzin in the top inch or maybe 2 inches of soil. So don't get deeper than 3 or 4 inches. We'd suggest running your tillage tool faster to try to encourage more mixing and to keep it a little shallow.
In terms of use rates, we get the most questions about metribuzin. We love this product. It's great and it's dirt cheap. You're going to spend about $4 an acre for 1/3 of a pound. That's technically a half rate. If you're in high pH, so 7.4 and above, you can instantly cut that rate. I don't know exactly what the right rate is for you, but I usually start at 1/6 of a pound. That costs $2 an acre. You can go down from there if you need to. If it's super sandy, like beach sand kind of ground, you're not supposed to use metribuzin.
Let's talk about the yellows, and you've already narrowed it down. If you're no-till, you're using Prowl. If you're conventional till, you're going to use the trifluralin. And if you're just looking to save money, use the trifluralin. It's significantly cheaper than what the Prowl is going to be. And in terms of rates, With Prowl, we want to keep you up towards the top end of that labeled rate. Again, you may vary that slightly if you have a very light soil or a very heavy soil. But with the trifluralin, that's the one I wanted to focus on because 2 pints has historically been the full rate of trifluralin. We're seeing many growers, including our own farm, cutting that back to 1.5 pints just to avoid carryover into a future crop. Like corn, for example, if you've got some trifluralin carryover, you'll kind of see those roots, especially in the top inch or two, really being short and thick and not really long and thin roots like you'd like to see out in your field.
Okay, let's talk rates real quick with Valor and Authority. Authority is going to be in premixes, so that's kind of hard. With Valor, though, I can tell you exactly what rate. At the minimum, 2 ounces. I really like 3 ounces of either liquid or dry. And in terms of cost, you're going to spend $6 to $9 on Valor or Authority. You're going to spend about $4 on trifluralin and $2 to $4 on metribuzin. So grand total, we're talking well less than $20. The only thing that would bump you up to around $20 or above would be the use of Prowl if you have to go no-till.
Then let's answer the final question. Why are we so excited about talking about these 3 pre's? Well, in addition to they really work well, the alternative of doing something post-emerge is just not good. I don't care what you're talking about, if it's Extend soybeans, Liberty Link soybeans, Roundup Ready soybeans, conventional soybeans, you don't have good post-emerge residual options. Sure, you could use Warrant or you could use Metallochlor or some of these products post, but you're using low rates and they really don't last that terrible long. You can use stronger rates with different modes of action that you can't use post in this pre-program and then stop most of those weeds before they emerge. Even letting weeds get up just a few inches tall does take away from your yield. So it's going to give you more yield for less money using the pre-emerge options.
And the big thing is you're probably never going to find 3 effective modes of action post-emerge. We can have those pre. So we really encourage you at least consider the 3 pre program for your soybeans this year.
3 pre's in soybeans are nice, but will they stop our weed of the week? Can you identify this week's weed?
In life, when you put the max in, you get the max out. It's no different for your corn, which is why 40 years of effort have gone into proving that Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers do more than just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize nitrogen, so your corn gives you the max in return.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us, because Case IH offered the first 5-axle design to give you more power to the ground, less berming and compaction, all to help you be more productive. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
The buzz on this line is probably the best in 10 years, both in soil and in the plant. Joe, you've been doing this for a while. What's your take?
Well, Don, you take a player like High Energy N, 3 forms of nitrogen, plus sulfur and iron, with slow release technology, he's making plays all season long.
Oh, look at his numbers. He's getting it done.
But don't forget about in response. This guy's designed for a quick release nitrogen.
It's looking like another championship season for Agro Liquid.
I know a lot of people that have them, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like their Morton building.
The crew was really, in my book, top-notch.
The quality of this building is second to none, and they make sure before you walk away that you're happy.
This is my dream barn. I think it ended up looking even better than I thought it would.
People love it. When they get in here, they're just in awe.
Morton Buildings, for work, for life, for generations.
Unlock your nutrient investment with QuickRoots technology. It contains 2 powerful microbes that can help free nutrients bound in your soil, which can improve access to key nutrients for healthy crops, N, P, and K. Applying QuickRoots technology to seed can lead to improved root and shoot growth, increased yield potential, and maximized nutrient investment. See how you can make your fertilizer dollar go further at monsantobioag.com/QuickRoots.
Anytime you have a grass crop like wheat, the most devastating weeds are grasses. So we'll talk about how you're going to control grass in your wheat this year.
All right, first of all, hopefully you have a pre-emerge herbicide down, and this is going to help dictate which products post-emerge we're going to choose.
Yep.
So for example, say you've got Zidua down, it's a group 15. Great, your options are wide open. There's no group 15s to use later in the season that are going to have contact activity. So you could use a group 1 or a group 2. Now let's say that you put Prepare down. So you've got an ALS herbicide down. Then we want to use an ACC ACE product post. And if you have that ALS down, can you use ALS again post? Well, you can by label, but then we start worrying about, wow, we're using the same mode of action over and over again, and we worry about resistance.
So in other words, if you've got Prepare down, don't use Everest post.
Okay, while we're on the ALS products, let's talk about your post-emerge options for straight grass killers that are in the ALS family. You've got things like Varo, for example, that can be used that is going to have some contact activity and also a little soil residual activity. And then, of course, you have Everest 3.0. Easier mixing, easier handling than the old Everest 2.0 formulation. Same great weed control. So when we think about wild oats control and foxtail, these ALS products are pretty good at that. Especially the Everest 3.0, but Varo is going to do a nice job as well.
Yeah, and with both of them, we're talking some broadleaf control, fairly decent grass control, but a lot of times when guys say, hey, I've got a real serious problem with wild oats or foxtail, then generally speaking, we're talking Axial. Axial also seems to be pretty good in terms of tank mix options. Now there is Next Step NG, that's basically like the old Discover. So those are kind of the products we're talking about when we say ACC ACE. Again, Darren was mentioning the ALS products. You've got Varo, you've got Everest 3.0. The other thing I guess I wanted to mention when Darren said Varo, you probably haven't even heard that name, but you may have used that in a combination product like Husky Complete, for example, has both Husky and Varo in it.
And the real key thing here when we're talking about grass control with any of these products is to try to get out there when the grass is small. For a couple of reasons. One, when the wheat gets big, it's tough to get good spray coverage down through that to coat those weeds and get them under control. The other thing is when they get big, they've already started to tiller out, and then it's really difficult to get control on those grasses.
One of the biggest questions we get about any of these grass herbicides is, can I tank mix them with other products? Now I mentioned already, Axial seems to work a little bit better with tank mix partners. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention that especially is because, yes, if you're going out there, you want to get some broadleaf control and some grass control. And you say, hey, even using Everest or Varo, that's not enough by itself. I get that, okay? So here's what I usually will tell people. If you've got a zillion grass plants, okay, you have lots of grass plants, then you probably want to spray the grass herbicide completely separate from the broadleaf herbicide. There's always some degree of antagonism when you mix the two together. And what I mean by antagonism is basically you're going to have less weed control when you put the two together as opposed to when you spray them each separately. So in terms of the grass control, it might be 99% when you spray it by itself. It might be 96% or something like that when you spray it in combination. So is that a big deal when you have 100 weeds in the field? No, couldn't care less. Is it a big deal if you have 1,000,000 weeds in the field? Absolutely. You're just not getting the most bang for the dollar you invested. So we'd really highly encourage you, if you've got a major serious problem, go hit the grass first, get that under control. That's going to rob the most yield, and that's the most difficult to stop, and then come back a week or so later and kill the broadleaves.
Well, since I'm all bundled up today, it's got me thinking about cold weather spraying, and oftentimes, especially in the northern U.S., when we talk to people growing wheat, they say, well, it's always so cold when we're trying to spray, it's tough to get good kill on those weeds, and I agree. If we don't have actively growing weeds, it is difficult to get them under control because they're not taking that product in effectively. So you do want to try and time this out as best you can to get good weather. So if you see, you know what, Monday and Tuesday are not good this week, but later in this week it's going to get up in the 60s or even 70 degrees, awesome. Save your spraying, let a couple of warm days happen, and then get the spraying done when those weeds are really actively growing. Also, utilize surfactants and nitrogen and so forth with your products as required on the label to make sure you're getting the best penetration through those leaves so you can drive that product in quickly and get weeds under control.
One of the other things too, when we talk about getting the best performance out of your grass herbicide, is use the right spray nozzle. You don't want to use those nozzles that are designed for drift reduction. Ideally, what we want is the smallest spray droplet possible, and we want to have the best spray coverage possible. So you might need to bump the water just a hair. I'm much more concerned about that size of the spray droplet though than I am about bumping water up to 20 gallons. I don't think that's necessary in most cases. You're hopefully spraying small crop and small weeds. Just make sure you're checking that nozzle first before you go spray.
Yeah, you can utilize the Ag PhD Spray Tips Guide to see what nozzle we would recommend for your farm.
Well, once again, there are a lot of different grass herbicides you can use in wheat. Many are quite effective. Just make sure you're spraying early so you have the best control.
Well, spraying early is important to control our weed of the week, but these aren't the products you're going to use. We'll share what will stop it coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is brought to you by Dow AgroSciences. Finish the fight against tough weeds with the Enlist Weed Control System.
Weeds are tough, but we're tougher. With unrivaled weed control, reduced drift, and near zero volatility. So, who's tough now?
Our Weed of the Week is Volunteer Roundup Ready canola.
Well, volunteer canola can be difficult to control, especially when it's Roundup ready as well. You're going to have to choose some different modes of action to get it stopped. Now, if you say, I don't know, I really have a hard time with canola, the problem is you're probably letting it get too big because almost every option we've got, well, it stinks if you let that canola get great big.
Yes, absolutely. You got to spray it when it's small. And again, if you can get better coverage on it, you're going to have better weed control. All right, let's talk about soybeans. We would say start with our 3 Pre program. That will knock down most of it. Post-emerge, we're talking FlexStar. You actually could use Basagran. That has some activity. I don't like that, but you certainly could do that. And then, of course, Liberty. But it does depend on which kind of canola is out there. We said volunteer Roundup Ready canola, but just understand there could be ALS tolerant, there could be Liberty tolerant. So it just depends on what type of canola is out there. So it's kind of hard to know when you go out to spray, and if you spray something and it doesn't work, well, now the weed is big. So what I'm saying is, even if you have Liberty that you could spray on your soybeans, you might still want to throw a little FlexStar out there too.
In corn, I like a couple of different options maybe than you've tried before. I like Acuron Flexi, and I also like Resicor. They have HPPD products in them that are pretty effective at burning down volunteer canola, and especially when you're out that early, you may just wipe things out right off the start here. Then post-emerge, I like Status, but you got to get out there early. Don't let that canola get big, because even Status will have trouble once it gets big.
In conventional corn, we've actually seen Accent do okay on this, but again, we've got plenty of options once we start talking corn.
All right, in wheat, when we think about volunteer canola, you could start off by putting Sharpen down. You could come back with a number of different products post-emerge as well. Things like Husky, you could add in some of the ALS products. I know Express does fairly well controlling it, so you may tank mix in one of those cheap ALS or SU type products to boost your control as well.
Well, that's it for our Weed of the Week Volunteer Roundup Ready canola, but stay tuned, Iron Talk is coming up next.
Let's take a look at our picks for the championship season. We've got 10-34-0.
No. I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about this Agro Liquid team. Take a look at this lineup. They got it all. The talent, their players can meet any challenge on any field. The coaching staff, the best I've seen.
So that's your pick? No discussions?
Nope. Agro Liquid is the team. They're going all the way to the championship.
In life, when you put the max in, you get the max out. It's no different for your corn, which is why 40 years of effort have gone into proving that Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers do more than just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize nitrogen, so your corn gives you the max in return.
Smart farming is playing hockey with my son.
All right, sweetie, I'm excited to go. Yeah. Smart farming is going on more family vacations.
Smart farming is getting some much needed rest.
Smart farming is spending more time doing what you love. Make it happen with Farm Command.
I know a lot of people that have them, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like their Morton building.
The crew was really, in my book, top-notch.
The quality of this building is second to none, and they make sure before you walk away that you're happy.
This is my dream barn. I think it ended up looking even better than I thought it would.
People love it. When they get in here, they're just in awe.
Morton Buildings, for work, for life, for generations.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us.
Because Case IH offered the first 5-axle design to give you more power to the ground, less berming and compaction, all to help you be more productive.
Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
Get out of the tractor. Planting season has been delayed in the upper Midwest and in other areas too. The temptation to fill the planter and go, go, go without stopping is certainly there even more than in a normal year. Unless you have someone else walking around your fields and doing a lot of digging, it's your job to get out of the tractor cab fairly often to make sure you're getting the job done right. Now here are 3 things that you should be checking this spring. First, if you do tillage, check the tillage floor. Sweep away the top few inches you just tilled up and make sure there's an even floor under the tillage. If not, make adjustments to your tillage tool so you can create an equal environment for every seed. Now, it may take 15 to 30 minutes to get everything set just right, but if it saves you from something that costs you even 1 bushel on 1,000 acres at $3.50 corn, well, that could pay you at least $7,000 per hour. Did I catch your attention? Yes, getting out of the tractor could be worth $7,000 an hour. Here's another thing that you should be checking. Seed bed conditions. Your seed bed should be crumbly and not too fluffy or too sticky. Seed to soil contact will be critical for top yields and a great start. If the soil's not fit, don't mud a crop in. Next, seed depth. This has been proven over and over again. If your seed depth isn't the same for every seed in the field when you're planting corn, you will not maximize yield. In fact, you'll lose a lot of yield. Plants that emerge several days late produce much smaller ears than the plants that emerge together on the first day. This isn't a 1 bushel per acre kind of payback either. It may well be a 20 bushel or more difference if your depth is highly variable, so get out there and check this often. I know you're hustling to get everything done timely this year, but I encourage you, get out of the tractor more often. Check on things to save yourself the trouble of fixing them later and to give your fields the best chance at making a profit this year. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now, back to the show.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
The Quick Belt from Norwood Sales is your all-around grain handling solution. Our conveyor-based system uses an 18-inch belt and a 10-inch tube, which minimizes seed damage while moving more than 10,000 bushels an hour. Keep your grain and your farm moving with the Quick Belt from Norwood Sales.
Well, that's our time for today, but before we go, we want to invite you to tune into the Ag PhD radio show, where we take your live phone calls each weekday at 2 p.m. Central on Sirius XM Channel 147.
And don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics, Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.